Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to our continuing series of looking at the best of the decade of the 2010s. We already did 2010s, so you can go back and listen to that. This is 2011, and yeah, this is going to be an interesting year of lots to go through, lots of huge games that if you look at them now, cultural significance up the wazoo for a lot of these. And so if you take that into account, does the list the way it looks now change a lot or a little? But thankfully I'm not here by myself to talk about this on this Video Games to the Max special. I'm your host Sean Garmer, here with me of course Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And back again, Mr. Randy Isbelle.
Man, 2011 was a good year.
Yes, it was. Lots of great games. And Jens Dietrich, how are you?
Ahoy hoy.
So, okay, so as, and then unless, maybe this is your first one, you skip 2010, you're just going right to 2011. So basically what we're doing here is we have a top 15 that we figured out through the process of everybody had a top 10. The four of us that are here, Daniel Anderson, who is not going to be at least on these first three that we're doing all in the same evening, and also Angel Gonzalez, who voted as well. So top 10s from everybody. That was turned into a top 15 overall for each year. And then we're coming on the podcast to basically take that 15 and drop it down to 10. So you have a top 10 for that year for just, purposes of the website didn't exist in those years. So there you go. Our top 10 for that year. And then also because eventually we're going to make a top 100. And it kind of gives us an idea of games we should be paying attention to in those years for that the sake of when we do the top 100, here are those games that we thought were standouts. So let's look at the list the way it is right now. Top 15 for 2011. Number 1 is Portal 2. Number 2, Batman Arkham City. Number 3, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. 4 is Dark Souls. 5 is Minecraft. 6 is Elder Scrolls 5, Skyrim. 7 is Dead Space 2. 8 is Bastion, 9 is LA Noire, 10 is Gears of War 3, which is technically tied for 9th. Witcher 2 is at 11. Saints Row the 3rd is tied for 11th there. Witcher 2, Catherine, the not remake version, Yakuza 4, and Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War at 15th. And just missing out, Shadows of the Damned, Rayman Origins, Little Big Planet 2, and Driver San Francisco all tied for 16th. So alright, so any of those there in 16th that you feel like should have moved to 10th or higher?
No.
No? Okay, so we can rule those out.
Yeah, though I love Shouts at the Damned.
Yes, shout out to Shadows of the Damned because that game was hilarious. Awesome for its time. So looking at this top 10... or, any in the 15 through 11 that you really want to make a case for being in the top 10.
Yeah.
Saints Row.
Witcher 2 and Saints Row. And Jens will say Catherine.
No, I know there's no support for that. I mean, the Catherine the Yakuza 4, those are...
it's hard to... if you look at all these games on this list, it's
I should
rough.
Note that Dawn of War game is Dawn of War 2 Retribution. I liked it quite a bit, but I think I'm the one who played it. So
no, I played it.
Okay,
it was fine.
I thought it was the best of the three, personally, but that's me.
I'm not a fan of the Diablo elements in a real-time strategy game. It got to little Warcraft 3 for me, which I was not.
I mean, yeah, there's no but I actually I thought it was interesting. Because the old Dawn of War games were very much like, have an army of 1,000 units that was slamming into each other. It's like, gets old.
But yeah, I agree. It was a good game. It's not my favorite. I think the first Dawn of War is still my favorite of them. But
okay, getting to the two you guys mentioned here, why Saints Row the Third, and what are you removing to?
Because it made Saints Row an actual good franchise. It had good characters. The gameplay improvements were hilarious and great. Had a ton of humor in it, like great writing. It made you feel very overpowered, but you weren't invincible unless you really wanted to go that direction. It completely broke what is normally thought of as a third person crime game, and it made it all the better for it.
It was when the series really staked out its own identity. It dispensed with the just kind of being a poor man's Grand Theft Auto from Saints Row 1, and more importantly, dispensed with the mean-spiritedness and the, fecal humor of Saints Row 2. So it just kind of becomes, it just kind of became this good-natured, really wacky, incredibly fun, almost parody game. And as that, it was it's just a blast.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, what are we? And go ahead and make your case. I understand that Witcher 2 is a great game, so that's why it's right there at 11.
Yeah.
For games to remove, I would say L.A. Noire for sure.
Nope.
No.
I would say probably Minecraft, at least for me.
No, I don't think it's actually here. I don't think you can remove it now. Had it not made the list, Minecraft is still a great game for what it is, and not to mention, it absolutely started a genre, and it still exists today. And talk about a time when kids weren't necessarily so into games like that, and all of a sudden Minecraft comes out and every freaking kid's got a tablet playing Minecraft. Every kid's got a, the first time I ever met my, I guess my current stepsisters, she was 11 and she would play Minecraft all day, all night. It's and it's still out there today. They're making the Minecraft dungeons now. I can't see where you could say, you can move Minecraft down, but I can't see where you say Minecraft doesn't belong on a top 10 for a year.
I don't really see how... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say I didn't play it, and I don't care to. That's how I can say that.
Well, I didn't play it either, but I still feel like it needs to be on here. I don't really see how very much moves on our top 10. Everything... You're
talking about some great games. Portal 2...
Uncharted 3 you could dump.
Stop it.
It's just a really great...
Uncharted 2 is better.
Uncharted 2 was better, yes. But it's not like Uncharted 3 was a bad game.
I think it's maybe...
The bad game is number 4.
No. I think Uncharted 3 is maybe a little bit high, but I definitely wouldn't drop it off the list. Gears of War 3 is the only one I could see going, even though it's a fantastic Gears of War game.
It's for me, it's the best of the original 3.
Yeah.
And the things that happens in the story are so well earned. The Horde mode is the best in that series. It's hard for me to move any... the thing you could say about L.A. Noire is that it's a good detective game, but I think what you're looking at with L.A. Noire is more of the technical stuff, not necessarily the game itself.
Oh, no, not just that, though. There are great things they're doing with the detective game aspects of it. I love that you can just fuck up a case or pin the murder on the wrong guy and just continue onward and not even figure out... There's so much stuff in that game with the dynamic storytelling and the way that the interrogations proceed and what clues you do or do not get. Especially replaying... I spent a lot of time replaying the cases to try and get 5 stars and everything. And there really is just a lot of smart variance, a lot of smart branching in that thing. And the overall story, even though it's very kind of Chinatown inspired, it's not the most original noir story in the world, is really well told. I love the characters. I really like. A lot of people didn't like that. You stop being Cole at a certain point in the game, and you become the insurance adjuster guy, the whatever he is, a PI or whatever. But I really like that too. I love all the stuff, the backstory about the war. The love triangle is really good. Like everything about it works for me as a classic noir kind of thing. And it's not just the fact that the faces are kind of unlike any other game ever.
Yeah, they're way over the top, but they kind of had to be for the interrogation, so you can kind of see what they're doing. It was fun just to. You're supposed to say if they're telling the truth or not, and just sit there and watch them for.
Oh, I mean, I think they're great. I think the only problem with what they were doing was the hair. Like everything about the mocap was amazing.
I mean, they still haven't. There's still games that can't get the hair right. I mean, it's still.
The hair is always an issue.
Yeah.
No, but specifically like the technique. Yeah, specifically the technique that they were using to get the facial capture prevented them from doing anything with. That's why everybody.
But the facial capture they did was fantastic for the time. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but it was all in service, and then the company went bankrupt. So it's like, well, I don't care.
But does that take away from how good the game is because the company went bankrupt?
If you want to talk labor practices, you can just simplify any Rockstar game.
I mean, there's a game we're going to talk about next year, I think it is, that also had that problem, but doesn't take away from that game being great either. I mean, it's just...
interrogation stuff was not good, I didn't think, because of the broken questioning system.
I do agree. Eventually, it does become...
Like, they even admitted, like, it was supposed to be something, like, different, and then they changed it, and then they didn't bother to, like, re-record the dialogue of the answers, so it's like, some stuff doesn't quite work correctly.
No, I mean, if you just think about it as, like, are you going to accept it or are you going to press? Like, that really is what it was. This thing of, like, truth, lie. Actually, I feel like when they remastered L.A. Noire and they changed it to clarify the interrogation system, they actually made it worse and more confusing, in my mind. I don't really understand why people had so much trouble wrapping their head around how the interrogation techniques work, because they felt pretty internally consistent to me.
Because not everyone has seen 3,000 detective movies, noir detective movies like you have.
Yeah, but it's pretty par from the course of, like, basically, do you want to apply pressure or do you not?
I don't remember having too much trouble going through stuff with that game. Like, I do remember some of these don't make sense. You know, like, this clearly seems like they're doing this, and that question doesn't line up, but, you know,
yeah,
I had to do it 2 or 3 times.
That's like the thing. Like, doubt, I think is probably just a bad name for it. But again, that's just a nomenclature thing. Once you understand what that command does, I feel it's pretty straightforward.
Well, I mean, it seems like we're making cases to keep those games on and not to switch them out, so...
I mean, I just really want to get Saints Row on here. Witcher 2 I can lose because I still think Witcher 2 is a little... The combat is a little bit awkward considering where that series evolved to.
Mm-hmm.
So then would you put Saints Row the third over Gears of War 3?
That's the thing I'm mulling. Is like, do I just want to replace Gears of War 3 with Saints Row and leave it at that?
No.
I don't want to because...
It deserves to go about 8 spots higher than Gears of War 3.
Man, it's just everything else on this list is so good, too.
Yeah.
2011 was a great year for games. So.
Amazing year.
I don't know, man. Let's go further and talk about some of these other games, and maybe we can come back to the whole... Do we put Saints Row in or not?
We do. But continue.
Well, you're the Dark Souls person here, Jens, so do you feel like Dark Souls needs to move somewhere, or is that fine where it is? Or?
I personally am fine. I mean, I don't need to talk about Dark Souls. Everybody knows what Dark Souls is at this point.
Yeah.
So the question is just whether I would probably move it to number 2 myself. That's where it was on my list. But I'm not a big fan of Arkham City.
That's too high for that game.
Yeah, I liked Arkham Asylum. I thought Arkham City was maximalist to a fault. Like, just too many collectibles, too many systems, too much stuff. It became very overwhelming. It does have really high highs.
But they refined the combat of that game, and I love the fact that they made it open world where you could go. And
but the open world was completely devoid of anything fun to do.
Also
it was
true.
just and also the shape of the open world is a big fucking U. And it's like, this is terrible to get around.
Yeah, and I realize it's a hugely important and hugely beloved, and was one of the most. Was it the most well-reviewed game that year? I remember.
No.
Portal 2 I think was more well-reviewed.
Yeah. For me personally, I just liked Asylum better. So,
everyone did. Asylum is a more concentrated game.
I wouldn't say everyone. There's a lot of people that will rep Arkham City as the best of the trio. I like that. I liked Asylum more too.
You don't like Arkham Origins?
No.
But I'm fine with Dark Souls.
Origins was good.
Origins was good for what it was, and I would say it's better than Night for certain reasons, but...
Here's the thing. If we were doing the year where Demon's Souls would be on the list, I would argue for Demon's Souls being number 1. But to me, Dark Souls is just kind of a refinement of Demon's Souls, so I'm perfectly fine with it being number 4. I realize that it looms larger than Demon's Souls because it was a lot of people's first.
Well, you gotta be... I think it's more because a lot of people didn't get to play Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just looked. Jens is right. On Metacritic for 2011, Batman Arkham City and Skyrim were tied at 96. Portal 2 got a 95.
Right.
Oh. Well, there you go. So
96% of the critics are wrong. Good to know.
And that's with Asylum being taken into account because, it came afterwards. So, I don't know. How do we feel about Skyrim? All these years later.
To me, I hate it. I hate those kind of games. They feel void and there's nothing there. But I also admit I'm not a big fan of those things, so I'm prejudiced.
I'm not a huge fan of Skyrim either, so...
Nothing there is a bizarre complaint about Bethesda games, which are so much story, so much dialogue, like the amount of content in those games. What do you mean by nothing there? Like,
I played Skyrim many years later. Like, you're going around forever before you meet anybody. The towns have a bunch of stuff in it, but the towns are few and far between.
Certainly, Skyrim is here's the world, you kind of dictate where you want to go kind of thing. And then once you figure out what you want to do, then the story starts unraveling or whatever. But yeah, it's not one where it goes here's your story. You kind of create it for yourself.
Like, I'm not a huge... I've kind of soured on Bethesda as a developer, but even I cannot deny that, like, man, the Dark Brotherhood quest, amazing. A Night to Remember, amazing, right? Like, there are, like, absolutely classic stories in that game.
I think my problem with Skyrim is it just felt very safe. Like, Oblivion was a shit show, so they had to do something to, like, fix that. But I compared Skyrim a lot to Morrowind, and Morrowind just went out every single step of the way, except for combat, obviously.
Yeah.
It was a, 10-year-old, or whatever, 7-year-old game compared. So it's like, yeah, of course it's not going to be quite as good. But
yeah, Morrowind is still like the second best one after Daggerfall.
Well, Morrowind had such just a imagination to it. Like, you're riding big fucking cockroaches across the landscape. It's like there's nothing like that in Skyrim. It's just very boring, frozen wasteland for the most part.
Yeah, I think obviously, it kind of falls into this category, which the two above it also fall into of like, Skyrim gets ported to everything on planet Earth. You can technically play it on the freaking Alexa, And like I remember people who only played like Call of Duty or only played Madden, all of a sudden they liked Skyrim and played it for hours and hours and hours. And like there are probably people that say that for the entirety of after this game came out, 2011, they didn't play anything else but Skyrim because it's so engrossing if you get into it. So, you know, I would say it's fine where it is. I don't think you need to move it up at all.
No. I mean, I might move it below Dead Space 2, but that's just because
I'm fine with that too. I'm not.
It's just such a slick and beautifully made game.
Well, yeah, and it's the last time because they messed it up with Dead Space 3. So, I mean, Dead Space married survival horror with, it made, like, you could get scared, but you could also go through and experience its fantastic atmosphere and everything else. I love Dead Space.
It's the spiritual successor to System Shock that I've always wanted.
So, everybody okay with moving Dead Space 2 up one at least?
Sure.
Are we moving Batman at all, or?
Yeah, you can move it down 8 spaces.
Oh, I don't know about 8.
I have no problem putting it just 5 Dead Space 2.
Yeah. I mean, what about moving Dark Souls or Minecraft in that spot, or?
What spot? Sorry?
Putting it in number 2. What are we putting at number 2?
I mean, I would love Dark Souls number 2. Sorry, Mark.
Saints Row.
We got to make room for Saints Row somehow. I just don't know how we're going to do it.
The only way is with Gears.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I'm the huge Uncharted fan of this group, and I'm one of the few people in the world that actually thinks Uncharted 3 is better than 2. I know I'm in the minority in that, so I don't make a big fuss out of it. So I have no problem with Dark Souls being above Uncharted 3, because a lot of people do feel like that is the third best in the series. I mean, obviously the first Uncharted was an early PS3 game and has its buggy issues, but so I have no problem with that, even though I think 3 is the second best in the series. But I think between Uncharted 3, Dark Souls, and Minecraft, I think right there's your top 4 with Portal 2, which I think is far and away the best in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Portal 2, we don't move it at all. It's number 1. And
yeah, it's like not only is the main campaign in Portal 2 amazing, but it has perhaps the greatest co-op campaign.
I love the fact that the co-op is completely different. It's not, okay, we're just doing the main campaign, but now you can play it with 2 people. It's
it's just
separate, and it's just as long, and that whole game is perfect.
Yeah, GLaDOS is great. The music is great.
I never thought I needed GLaDOS and a potato, but we needed GLaDOS and a potato, and it was great.
My only negative thing with Portal 2 is you're all talking about the multiplayer, and I played that game on Steam or PC, and I never got to work correctly.
Man, you need to like boot up your PS3 or something.
Yeah, I was say PC Master Race sure has a lot of problems playing video games. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Woo.
I have Portal 2 on every system, so whatever you want to play it on, Mark, I'll play it with you.
Okay. Let me load up my Virtual Boy. I can play it on there.
No, I mean...
No, you can probably play Skyrim.
If you want to go blind, sure.
I don't want to play it on 360. We play it on 360.
So we move Dark Souls to 2 and move Arkham City down to 5.
Randy, that's a great idea.
I'm fine with it. Nobody else is arguing, so that's what I'm doing. Okay. I think, honestly, the only thing we have left to discuss is Saints Row 3 or Gears of War 3. And we haven't really talked about Bastion, but that's another fantastic game.
Well, that's not going to go anywhere. So
no, Bastion needs to stay there because it's Super Giants.
I'm not saying we haven't talked about it because it needs to move, but we need to give it some love because it is in that same group as the last episode with Limbo and Super Meat Boy. That was that great indie of the year that really told a great story, had great platforming. We just haven't talked about it. I don't want to move it. But.
Yeah, I mean, Bastion it's Super Giants' first game, and they knocked it out of the park on their first try. I mean, it's the narrator by itself makes that game awesome, and then just the mechanics of like controlling the kid, and like I loved almost everything. I had no problems with that game at all. I loved every thing you do in that game. I love the way you do the combat in that game. Just
I think it's still their best game.
Yeah, you can make that case. Even though I'm kind of partial to Pyre because it's basketball with weird stuff.
Other than 10, I think our list is set.
Well, no, because Saints Row is not 10 either.
Okay, so then it's 12. Okay, we got our 10.
There you go. So, what are we doing? Jens? I'm partial to Gears of War 3, so I can't...
I'm torn because I love both those games. I mean, I personally like Saints Row the Third. Saints Row the Third is a little bit closer to my heart. But as you know, I'm a Gears fan, and I had a great time with Gears. I played Gears 3 a ton. Played a lot of that Horde mode. Played the campaign multiple times with different people.
I mean, Gears 1 was good. Gears 2 sucked. And Gears 3 was, a good game
Gears 2 did not suck. Gears 2 was perfectly fine.
Gears 2 was fine. It wasn't...
Forget the Horde mode, which is great.
But Saints Row, like the first two Saints Row games, sucked hard. So Gears 3 had a better starting off point than Saints Row did. But Saints Row outclassed it by miles.
Well, we're at a standstill here.
We'll just
all right. So we might have to
take a vote out of you three because I haven't played either of them. So.
Okay, well, we're still at that impasse then because Jens.
Yeah, I'm abstaining from this one unless you put the gun to my head, I guess I'll pick Saints Row, but with great reluctance.
All right, well, I'm the only one fighting for Gears, so 2-1. I guess Saints Row moves.
That's why I said you can just cut Minecraft, and Saints Row slide in there nicely.
No, you can't cut Minecraft. So
Saints Row deserves to be
I hate it because I think like Gears 3 is the only one that would make the top 100 at all, but of the 6 Gears games. But
what are you talking about, man? We still got to talk about Gears of War Judgment in a few years.
No, we don't need to talk about Judgment. We're good. I forgot Gears of War Judgment existed. I didn't even vote for it. It was the year for that. Oh, God. Thanks for bringing up bad memories, Mark. Thanks.
Yep.
That's what I need.
I think we got our 10.
Okay, here we go. So we got the 10. After all this fighting, we finally got it. Hey, but that's why we make these podcasts, right? So, number 1 is Portal 2. Didn't even have to move it. It stayed there. Dark Souls is at number 2. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception is at number 3. Minecraft 4. Batman Arkham City goes all the way down to 5. Dead Space 2 at 6. Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim at 7. Bastion 8. LA Noire 9. And Saints Row the 3rd seeks in at number 10 above Gears of War 3. What a tight one that was. So,
I like it.
Not really.
If you have problems with our list,
I would be here for the next hour if it didn't get on this list somehow. So
yeah, I mean, I think you'd try to kick L.A. Noire off again if this conversation went on.
Not just that one. Uncharted 3 would also be going bye-bye.
Stop it, Mark.
So, if you don't like our list or you do, you can let us know at any of our Twitters, at Humanity Plague, As for Mark, you can let him know whether you agree or disagree with his Saints Row the Third Love. And at W10 Sean is for me, at Randy Isbelle for Randy Jens. What's your Twitter handle?
At Aperture Silence.
There you go, at Aperture Silence.
Which is a great name for our Game of the Year, 2011.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there you go. There you have it for 2011. Those are our games, top 10 games, and we'll see how many of those make the cut when we get to the top 100. So
all of them.
Yeah, Randy, I think that year Portal 2 came out was the year that Xbox Live let you change your gamer tag. So, hence.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
Well, and notice that they did it in 2011. How long did it take Sony to do it for the PlayStation?
This year.
2000.
Yeah.
Was it this year or last year?
It was this year.
Earlier this year. So, yeah. Sony, slow. It's things when it comes to online.
It's okay. I still haven't changed my Sony. I love my old one.
But all right. So, that's it for 2011. Hopefully you join us for 2012. And we'll see you later.